The sound was wet and sharp, like a branch snapping in winter. My leg buckled, then the other. I hit the floor, breath punched from my lungs. My father loomed over me, the metal bat still raised. His grin stretched like a scar. "Now they match your worthless life," he said. From the doorway, my mother laughed. "Crawling looks better on you." Pain ripped through me in waves, but I smiled through it, because in that moment I knew they'd never laugh again. It wasn't always this way, or maybe I was too young to see it. When I was a child, they liked having me small, silent. They liked my good grades because they could brag about them, not because they were proud. When I told them I'd made it into the city's youth ballet company, my father grunted. My mother said, "Don't embarrass us." For 6 months, I trained harder than I'd ever trained in my life. I'd wake before sunrise, practice until my muscles screamed, then go to school. The recital was my chance, my first lead role. But that morning, Dad was drunk. Mom was in one of her brittle, mocking moods. I should have left without speaking. Instead, I made the mistake of asking them to come watch me dance. That's when he picked up the bat. In the hospital, I learned the damage. Compound fractures, torn ligaments, months of rehab. The police took statements, but my parents' story was polished. She fell down the stairs. I didn't contradict them, not because I was scared, because silence is a weapon, and I was sharpening mine. I spent a year recovering. Every painful stretch, every sleepless night, I thought about the way they'd looked at me on the floor, not with shock, but satisfaction. By the time I could walk without crutches, I'd made my decision. They weren't going to pay for what they did in a burst of rage. They were going to pay slowly, piece by piece. First, I moved out. I told them I'd forgiven them, that I needed space. They believed me. They thought I was still their compliant daughter. I worked 2 jobs. I studied criminal justice at night. I learned how investigations unfolded, how evidence was built, how to document every detail without it pointing back to me. Over time, I collected their sins. My father's gambling debts, his habit of helping himself to cash from his employer, my mother's credit fraud schemes, the neighbor she blackmailed, the fake insurance claims. Every crime was a brick. I was building a wall around them. When I was 24, I found the crack that would let me push the wall in. My father had joined a small construction firm. They were laundering money for a local gang. My mother was helping him funnel it through fake client accounts. I got the paperwork, bank statements, signed invoices, even recordings of them bragging about it. I didn't send it to the police, not yet, because I wanted to be there when it all collapsed. The opportunity came 2 years later. The firm landed a city contract. Big money, big publicity. My parents were invited to a celebratory dinner with local officials, press, and the company's investors. I slipped in through a back entrance. Black dress, hair pulled back, just another catering staff member. Halfway through the speeches, I queued up a file on the projector in the conference hall. The first slide, my father's signed withdrawals from a ghost client account. The second, my mother's voice, clear as glass, saying, "It's not stealing if no one finds out." Gasps, chairs scraping, the company's CEO lunging for the power cable. Too late. The rest of the file auto-played. Photos, audio clips, bank records. Enough evidence to burn them to ash. Security arrived. My father tried to stand, but his legs wobbled. My mother's hands shook so badly her wine spilled across the tablecloth. By the time police entered, the investors were already filing complaints. The city official who'd backed the contract was on the phone, pale and furious. They were arrested on the spot. The trial was almost anticlimactic. I sat in the front row. When my father looked at me, I tilted my head, just enough for him to understand. The verdict? Guilty. multiple counts of fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy. Sentence, 20 years each. The first parole hearing came 5 years later. I attended. They didn't speak to me. My father's hair was gray, his shoulders slumped. My mother's face had collapsed in on itself. The board denied parole. They'll try again in another 5 years. I'll be there. I always will. People think revenge is about heat, about shouting, about striking back in the moment. It's not. It's about patience, about building the kind of trap that leaves them with nowhere to go, no one to turn to, and nothing to hold on to. They thought they'd ended my life that morning before the recital.